Welcome to On the Corner of Main Street, presented by Plaza Hotel and Casino in downtown Las Vegas. Here is Plaza CEO Jonathan Jossel, Gary Vickery, and I'm your host, Lisa Melmed. Welcome back. We're back. Hello, Jonathan. Hello, Gary. How's it going? Welcome back to On the Corner of Main Street.
I'll tell you what, I missed you guys. You know, I mean, I see you every day, but in this type of forum, I miss you guys.
You missed the podcast.
I missed the podcast.
Welcome back, guys. It's good to be back. I'm shocked that we're back, but I'm glad that we're back.
Why are you shocked?
Well, you know, we didn't start this to continue being podcasters. I mean, we got other things to do with our time and days, but it seems like we stumbled across something that we enjoy doing and that the fans are crazy for.
And I'm keeping the money.
Oh, my God. You're still here.
I am.
You're still here. I forgot about you. Wow. Hi, Rich.
What a surprise.
I tell you, I am also very excited because the Gypsy King won this weekend, and much to my dismay, you guys thought the Gypsy King was a band. Mm-hmm. That's the Gypsy Kings. Mm-hmm. Do you want to sing the song?
Bambaleo. Yeah. I don't want to get sued.
Oh, you get sued for the rights?
Rights fees.
Yes, but the Gypsy King won, and what a weekend it was to be in Las Vegas. But it's been 2 months since we did this?
Yep.
Yeah, pretty much the whole summer.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Since August, about the end of July, was our last recording, so it's good to be back here in Oscars.
Keep in mind, though, when we started, we were doing, whenever we felt like an episode, and then it became something that became more consistent, like once a week, and then when we first started this during the pandemic, it was like, we'll do one a month or whatever it was, and then it sort of took on a life of its own. Episode 58.
58.
Feeling great.
So we're still here.
Yep. Well, and as you know, everything's pretty much back to normal here in Vegas. I think we won't be releasing quite as frequently, but we still have lots of exciting guests and topics to cover.
You say that, but I mean, think about the world can't travel to America yet.
Well, actually, it's true. You're right. But we did have some overseas guests here finding ways to get in.
Well, if you can afford to spend 2 days in Dubai and Canada, 2 weeks in Dubai and Canada, then and the Bahamas, which makes no sense, by the way. Why are people from Dubai allowed to come here, but people from England aren't allowed to come here?
I don't know. But that's changing in a month.
We hope. There's a lot of debate about that, whether that's now they're saying maybe. I thought it was November 1. But now they're saying maybe end of November after Thanksgiving. I mean, so yeah, things are seemingly normal. And if you went to the boxing fight on Saturday night, things definitely felt normal, like a great fight night in Vegas.
What have you been up to? Where have you been?
Where have you been?
You asking me? I did spend a month in London. I had 2 weddings. Okay. We had shout out to my sister who got married, my younger sister, Sarah.
Amazing.
And also shout out to Roy Zabladovich, our parent company, Tamara's, the son. Roy is now managing director, and he also got married to a lovely bride. Maya and Roy, we wish you congratulations. And so we went to 2 weddings in London. London was great. It was busy.
You haven't seen your family in...
Yeah, I hadn't been home. I call it home. Home is definitely here in Las Vegas, but home to see my family. My family's home since 20 months. So it was a long time. Wow. And so it was good to go back, see all of them. Always miss the Plaza and downtown Las Vegas when I'm gone, especially for that long. But it was nice to get out of here. And to be honest, you guys should try it. Being out of Vegas in August when it's 120 degrees outside is not the worst thing. You can take walks and enjoy yourself a little bit. But yeah, it was well overdue. So it was nice to go back. And then obviously, it's funny. I can go there and come back, no problem, but they can't come in here. So
yeah, so bizarre.
Yeah. What about you, Gary? Where were you?
I've been here.
Holding it down.
I've been here the whole
that's how
time.
I can take a.
And August was exceptional. Same with September.
You mean business-wise?
Business-wise.
Business-wise was great. Well, and that's why I can afford to take a month off, because I got great people like yourself on the team that hold it down for me. So yeah, it was good to know that the Plaza was in safe hands. And as you say, August historically is one of our slower months.
Right.
If you took August, it would have been one of our best months from before the pandemic. So very unusual what's happening down here and the business patterns that have changed. But let's see how long that continues.
Right.
Gary, you've turned into a TikTok star since we saw you last.
God.
Yeah, I figured, with 8 weeks off of podcasting, I figured I'd, turn my attention to TikTok and, start posting videos on our Plaza TikTok page.
Definitely check it out at Plaza Las Vegas. You can see Gary here, there, and everywhere.
Was TikTok down as well with all the other social media channels?
No, because it was only Facebook channels.
Ones that are owned by Facebook.
Instagram and WhatsApp.
That was very pleasant for that day.
It was.
Not having to see such crazy uninformed opinions all over the internet.
Yeah.
I did enjoy that.
A little nerve-wracking for the Facebook
if you're in digital,
ads.
if you're in digital marketing, it must have been a little scary for job security.
Yeah, like and of course we have Studio 71 downstairs going strong.
Speaking of social media.
Speaking of social media,
when did we open that? July, right? Part of our 50th anniversary.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that's been well received.
Yeah, it's been amazing. We're giving away a cash prize of $500 if anybody posts in there and tags us. So we'll give away that in December.
That's very generous.
To a random winner, not everybody who comes in.
Yes, thank you for clarifying.
That'll be very expensive in December.
Yep. We just had Life is Beautiful music festival here downtown.
That was crazy. Packed.
The after parties underneath
and
the
and iHeart the same weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was fun. Although it was the first year we didn't do our pizza activation over there. For anyone that ever came to Life is Beautiful would know that Papa Pizza was the anchor of the ambassador stage.
Yes.
And not to be there this year was a shame, but we just had too much going on to take it on. And it was great to see so many people downtown, though, and the energy that Life is Beautiful brings, and give great credit to Tony Shea for being the first person to start that and back it for, I guess it was, if this was year 8, then he underwrote it for 7 years and made it happen. So give him great credit, because I think it was I think for everyone that went to it, that being involved from the beginning, it was very emotional not having Tony there this year. Right. But he certainly was the founder, pioneer, and champion of it. And it felt a little empty not having him there for Life is Beautiful. He was always a big part of it.
Speaking of the last 2 years, last year we had the Raiders open up completely empty stadium, for the entire season. And this year we finally have fans, as long as they're vaccinated, in the stadium. Jonathan, I know you've been to at least one game now, right?
I went to 2, yeah. I didn't go to the Bears game, which as of this recording was yesterday. How was that, Rich? Good? You like that, as of this recording?
Thank you very much. How was the sort of game experience? Because I went to the first one, the Seattle, the preseason game. Yeah. And, it was a dress rehearsal, to be sure, with logistics and getting everybody. Even some of the vendors ran out of food.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that. No such issues for us. We went to the opening game Monday Monday night against the Ravens, and then the 2 weeks later was against the Dolphins, which both games the Raiders won. Both games went to overtime, and both games I left early. So
oh, wow.
You have to keep doing that.
I know. I didn't go yesterday, and they lost. So I should be the lucky mascot and leave early every time.
You're a Dodgers fan in training.
Oh, okay. But yeah, the experience is amazing. It's like everything in Vegas. They just do it better.
How does it compare to the Golden Knights games? Are there showgirls? Is there?
Yeah, there's the whole
opening
thing. There's the hype guys. In English sport, you don't have the hype men that are needed, but there's a lot of stoppages in ice hockey and hockey and NFL. There's a lot of stoppages, but it's great. The experience is great. Everyone was having a good time, and it's I think it was Steve Wynn who said having the Raiders come to Vegas is so obvious that it's like a freight train coming through your living room, how obvious it should be that it's a good decision. And I got to tell you, ever since then, Sundays are like the new Fridays. They're much busier. And when they're here, we see the impact of having the Raiders here and the traveling fans. It's been amazing, actually. So I'm excited about it. And now they don't look like they're going to win. They look like they were going to do great. They've lost the last 2 games. But they look like a decent team, and I think as they get more and more successful, can't compare it to the Golden Knights. They were the first professional sports team. They were Vegas-born. They're not an existing franchise. Right. And they went to the Stanley Cup in their first year. They had a winning record. But it's pretty cool. I mean, there's just so much going on in this town. I went to the golf tournament last week at the TPC. The fight this weekend, the Raiders here, the Golden Knights start Tuesday night.
Yeah, we had a reggae festival at the downtown.
All in one
center.
weekend.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been unbelievable to see as things have come back and got busier and busier. And of course, we talk about Vegas being a sports team, but a sports town, but wouldn't be complete without the Pickleball Open. And when you have all the greatest sports in the world, from NFL, hockey, and now pickleball, and it was very well attended as well. The Pickleball Open was a few weeks ago.
It was 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Yep. Broadcasted on ESPN, so go in, check it out, go find the archives of it.
Yeah, we had all the best players in the world here, which was really cool to see.
Did you play?
I didn't. I'm very good, but I'm not at that level. No, they are really. It's impressive to see when you watch people at the highest level of anything. They're pretty talented people. It's great to see.
Yeah, it's cool on the pool deck with all the tents and vendors set up.
Speaking of sport, I did have a lunch the other day with Michael Gorn and his sportsbook director, which is Jimmy Beccaro. Mm-hmm. And that guy's a legend. We got to get him on this podcast.
Yes.
Why? What do you know about him?
I've known him for about 7-8 years, and I've had him on a couple different shows I've produced. He's wonderful. He'd just say, "How's it going, Jimmy?" And then, come back in half an hour.
He told me a story, and we should have him on to tell it, but he told me a story of the early days in Vegas when, sports books were here, but there was only like 2 of them in the whole town. And he was running one of them. I think it was at the Barbary Coast, he told me. And he said that, there was no technology. So if someone takes a bet, it's all handwritten. It wasn't computerized. Like now you go put a bet on, it's all computerized.
Right.
You look confused, Lisa.
No, I'm following.
Following? Mm-hmm. When you and I put our bets on, it's all computerized?
Yeah.
Well, he said back then it was all handwritten, and there was only 2 bookies in the whole town. So he said when the big fights came, there would be lines from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. around the block of the Barbary Coast. Down the strip, people would be lining up to put their bets on. And they were taking so much action, but they had no idea what they were betting on because it's all handwritten. It's not computerized, so they can't move the lines. He said the lines were everywhere. We got to get him in to talk about that because that must have been crazy early days.
Wow.
To be taking that kind of action.
Yeah, how do you keep track of that?
By hand.
You don't.
It sounded like it was a little chaotic, I'm sure.
I could only imagine during a Tyson fight what it must have looked like trying to do all those tickets.
I think that's even late. I think he was talking even earlier
than that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
1999, the Man U
Treble?
Newcastle, FA Cup.
Yeah.
I was there. I put a bet down.
In England?
In London. And again, it was at a Ladbrokes, and it was it was like a doctor's prescription. I had no idea. I said,
but in England it still is handwritten. Now they do put it through the machine, which at least
now, but 20 years
20
ago,
years
it's like,
ago, it was all
I
handwritten.
guess I said Man U.
And they had the copy
2-1.
paper on the back. I remember that. That was pretty cool.
All right. Well, with that a clean segue into something else, how was Super Bingo?
What Super Bingo? We've done so many. We've been doing them now every month, which is a wonderful thing. Super Bingo was very well received. I think we did August, September, and October.
Right.
So we've done 3 straight months. Our bingo team is the best. If you haven't heard episode 3, that would be Weldon, who is my favorite team member who runs the bingo game. He runs the bingo game and absolutely does amazingly with it. And we've done it every month. It's great, Gary. I mean, it's nothing like it in terms of it's a Monday, Tuesday, 800-900 people that come in, play bingo, and then play slots for 3 days. It's just nothing like it. It's wonderful. They were here last week, which was G2E as well, the Gaming Expo.
Right.
So we've had like an unbelievable few weeks here of just events, business, and Super Bingo is my favorite by far. It's the one time where we truly outperform the downtown market in terms of bringing people down here. So it's great.
Was this the biggest Super Bingo ever? I heard that from...
in terms of what? No, it wasn't. In terms of nothing, it wasn't. Head count, we could go more. We have enough demand for it, but we kind of ended at 900 just because, people want to feel like they have a good chance to win. And when it feels like there's way too many people in there, I think that's part of that's a challenge. But also just an experience we capped it about 850 to 900.
What's amazing is 10 years ago when we reopened the property, you were only doing them 4 times a year, right?
If that,
yeah.
2 to 3. Everyone told me you're crazy. We can't do that many.
Yeah, why'd you change to every month?
Because it's great.
It sells
great.
Out. It sells out every month.
It sells out. It brings people in here that wouldn't otherwise be here, and it's a Monday and Tuesday. What could be better?
Right.
Why did it take so long to change it to every month?
I don't know, Lisa. It's like anything. People don't think it can be done until it's done. Mm-hmm. I read a quote. It was you don't know how, when you have like a preconceived notion of something, you don't know how easy it is to do something. But if you don't know anything about it and you have no experience like me, then you're willing to try anything and make it happen.
And if this was one of the shall we say, the larger properties down south of us, the 3 or 4 miles, how many meetings, sub-meetings, impact statements, and interim reports would it take to go from 4 a year to 1 a month?
I have no idea.
Exactly. Here you just say, let's do that, and it's done.
That is the best part about working here, I have to say.
The best?
Well,
We could just do anything. And it doesn't have to be...
top 5. You don't have to go through all the levels and layers of people to get something done.
Yeah, and by the way, it doesn't always work.
Yeah.
But we'll try anything within reason.
Yeah, like a tax day promotion.
Oh, Gary.
Wow.
So cut that
Too
front
soon?
ranch,
It's
yeah.
still too soon for that?
Wow, my favorite. Yeah.
During Super Bingo, we had Brian Christopher here as well, BCSlots.
Yep.
He
And
brought
you
in
had the other gentleman back in town.
Matt Bridger
Yeah, came in from... He didn't come from England. He came from somewhere else, I guess. But
via
Spice
here,
and
there,
West,
and
yeah.
everywhere.
Yeah, the YouTubers are still doing their thing. We still love them. It was
Yep.
nice to see a lot of them at G2E. I know a few other properties are starting to embrace it. I hope not too many, because it's our little secret. But I know a few others are. And so, yeah, the what's his name? Brian did have a few nice jackpots, so I went down and paid him myself.
Yeah, that was his biggest jackpot ever.
Wow. 20-something thousand.
Yeah,
right?
and you paid him.
Yeah, I did, yeah. It was good I had a mask on, so you couldn't see my face.
Now, was that Plaza money, or was that IGT, or
No, it's
somebody
Plaza
else's money?
It was Plaza money.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think he hit 3 jackpots that day, but that 20,000 one was the...
Yeah, well,
Definitely
I'm sure it's on his YouTube. We're not telling secrets here. We don't talk about people's winnings, but it's on his YouTube channel, isn't it? So, well, he did it live.
It was live.
Yeah. So if you follow Brian, you've seen that video. And it was his biggest win. I'm sure he'll be posting it full time. And it was good to have him back, though, and all of his fans and friends and everybody that came down.
Well, New Year's Eve, Brian Christopher will be back for everything that is Brian Christopher.
Yep,
With all the
yep.
events and, you know.
He's hosting a New Year's Eve party here at the Plaza. You can look on his website for more information about that.
Yeah, no, that'll be good. And by the way, speaking of parties, we had Murray Sawchuk's wedding. You were there, Rich.
Yes, I was.
What a celebrity you are. My God, just hobnobbing with all
That was amazing.
everyone loved it.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Congratulations to Murray
Congratulations.
And Danny.
and Danny. Thank you, Rich.
They wanted a vintage Vegas wedding, and so they did it at the Plaza in the showroom. It was amazing. They were on stage.
Yeah, they had Zoe Bowie performing. They had a lot of local entertainers. It's been all over the news. It's been great how many people have told me they were down here for the wedding or read about it online or saw the pictures online. So it was pretty cool how much attention they got for it. But yeah, it was a great wedding, wasn't it, Rich?
That was
Enjoyed it?
excellent. Yeah, it was the right amount of sentiment and Vegas and kitsch and satire all at once.
Just the right amount of wrong.
Oh, no.
I believe that's Cosmopolitan's.
Yeah.
Do they still do that?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah, I think they dropped
That was
it.
2 owners ago.
Okay. Fair enough.
So, Lisa, what else has changed? What else has changed around here?
Well, we're recording in Oscar's Steakhouse right now. And due to popular demand, we have opened on Wednesdays.
Oh, cool.
Wednesdays through Sundays from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m.
I have an even more exciting announcement. Not yet. for us, 'cause
Oh.
What is it?
I'm not telling you.
What?
Okay, I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Not online.
But I was thinking back to pre-pandemic times. Thinking about Oscars being open every day feels like so long ago. Like, did that even happen? Was that real?
It was once upon a time. It'll get back there.
Yeah.
I think part of it is just getting all of our staffing back and, just getting comfortable that Monday, Tuesdays are as busy as they seem. But there's definitely an impact of this idea that I've been talking about now for probably a year, of the neighborhood effect. And with Greyhound being gone, with the 800 apartments to the west, Circuit to the east, Main Street being cleaned up, the new garage down here, to see this energy and what's happening it's a different business down here from before the pandemic. And it's nothing to do with the pandemic. Mm-hmm. It's just this end of the West End is the best end.
Ooh.
Yes.
There's the tagline.
We should say that more.
The West End is the best end.
We need to put that up on the marquee.
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have other things coming up. We've got Sand Dollar, we've got Zorkfest, we've got $50,000 cash giveaway coming up in November.
Las Vegas Days Rodeo, the NFR Rodeo. Can't wait.
Yeah, big things coming. Big things coming. But so let's jump into two big things that have happened. We've had the Oscars dinner series and a visit to the Global Gaming Expo.
And as we've done in past episodes, I've collected a couple of highlights from this last dinner series to share here.
This was a great dinner series because everyone always likes to talk about Ace Rosenthal.
Yeah.
Frank Rosenthal.
Yeah, it's Lefty Rosenthal, Ace.
Well, hold on, Rich. On, Rich. I did take the opportunity. So we had a guest speaker at this one, and it was actually the gaming commissioner who was going after Frank Rosenthal. But what was interesting, and I know you're going to go through this in a minute, Rich, and read it out, but everyone calls him Lefty, and they all think there's a nickname or a story behind that. They don't think there was. Back in the day when Frank was around, you didn't dare call him Lefty.
Oh, really?
You called him Mr. Rosenthal.
Either Mr. Rosenthal or Frank, but you never called him Lefty. And so that no one knows that he even knew that his nickname was Lefty. It was only subsequently that name became...
Was it like an FBI nickname?
No one dared call him Lefty, not even the FBI. You didn't call him Lefty whether he was there or not. Now, so after his death, I guess maybe the movie made it more famous or other things have since transpired, but he was not known as Lefty to himself. So when you talk to Oscar and his guest who was here talking about it, neither of them would have called him Lefty at any point.
So where did Lefty come from?
Well, they think it's because he was either left-handed or because he raised his left hand so many times, taking the fifth.
That's funny.
Neither of those, though, were reasons that he gave or used. So maybe after his death, that became more commercial. But it was a brilliant night. We had a lot of great guests here. We had Mark Chinook here joining us. We had Derek Stevens here. We had Ryan Doty, who's opening 2 new bars in East Fremont. We had our mayor, our councilwoman,
Mr. Vital Vegas.
Of course.
I mean, it was pretty much like a podcast reunion.
Yeah.
Well, it's funny as I go out and I'm like, you guys should meet each other. It's like, oh, or you could just hear each other's podcast. Like you did with me. All of those people that we just mentioned have been on our podcast. That is true. And so, yeah, it was a great night.
So Oscar talked at length about Mr. Rosenthal, including about how he left his mob roots in the Midwest to take what appeared to the public to be a low-level mid-management job.
And he came out here. He started off as a floor man at the Stardust Hotel, and he had his unusual way of doing things. He was a perfectionist. And as a floor man, he would walk around there, and if he saw a cigarette butt on the floor, he would pick it up and throw it in the ashtray, ask whose job it was. Being told, he would then fire the person. I mean, that's the way he did things. And he had his own tailor. The suits that he had were beautiful suits. They were all handmade, and when he got through wearing them one time, he would give them to me, and I was the best-dressed lawyer maybe in the United States. And he even had a little hat, a little blue hat that he would wear that most people would wear only if they were fishing. And he gave that to me as well. And I think, Carolyn, we still have that hat at home. I'm not sure. Yes, we still do. We have everything still at home. We can't move because there's no place that could fit all of our stuff in. And it was he came to me because he said that he was told that I was a good lawyer, and he was part of a group of people who had been subjected to a raid at the Rose Bowl Race and Sports Book, a little race and sports book like they all were, on a strip mall along Las Vegas Boulevard, and they were all picked up on a wiretap, which showed, in fact, that they were gambling, and they were gambling with information which they obtained in interstate. And would I represent him? He was referred as a result of a lot of different things that I've talked about in the past about my representation of folks down in Miami, and they were friends of his, and I said I'd be delighted to represent you, and I was fortunate enough to find in that case that the authorization by the Attorney General John Mitchell was an erroneous one, and I was able to get that case dismissed. And when he went to work at the Stardust, he said, will you be my lawyer? And then he introduced me to Alan Glick, who was the owner of the Stardust, and Glick said, will you be my lawyer? And I said, I could be both of your lawyers. There's no problem with that. There's no conflict of interest. And I represented the two of them, and it was fascinating because it was funny. A lot of things didn't make much sense to me, but I was so busy I didn't bother asking questions about it. they had an office on the second floor of the Stardust, and Glick, who was the owner of 4 hotels, casinos, he had the Marina, which is no longer here. He had the Hacienda, no longer here. He had the Fremont, and he had the Stardust. And he had a little office. He had a little part of a big office, and Rosenthal had a big part of the big office, and didn't make much sense to me, but nevertheless, there was no reason for me to ask any questions about it. They were happy with me, and I was happy with them, and I went along, and I was representing them. Rosenthal did a lot of wonderful things. People forget this because they want to make him into a bad guy. Did a lot of wonderful things that we forget because history lets us forget as time goes on. But Rosenthal is the first person involved in gaming who insisted that the casino hire women to be card dealers, 21 games. Very few people remember that. He was the first person to actually work in the casino as a person who was there every single day, night and day that I knew of. Most people would go home, but Rosenthal was there doing his thing. And it came to everyone's attention that he was more than just a floor man. It looked like he may be exerting some kind of supervisory power over gaming. And the law which would pass said that if anybody was making a certain amount of money and had a supervisory position, they didn't come forward necessarily for licensing as an owner, but they had to get licensed in order to work in that supervisory capacity, and the gaming people went after him.
So Oscar also recounted how Rosenthal would change jobs at the Stardust, which restarted the process of his application for a gaming license. But he also said that state regulators were not the only ones going after Mr. Rosenthal.
Wiretaps were able to show that activity, which was very disturbing, was taking place in Nevada in the gaming industry. But that didn't have anything to do with the vendetta that they had against Rosenthal. That was found out after they started this process of telling him that he better get licensed, he better go in front of the board in order to have his background checked out. And every time it came back to the same thing. His childhood relationship basically was with Tony Spilaccio. And Spilaccio, interesting in and of itself. Any FBI agents here? No, I'm asking because I want to show you how dumb they are. No, and nothing's changed. You look like an FBI agent. You FBI? He's shaking his head. Yes, this is amazing. Well, I am going to look at you and tell you that the FBI today is as dumb as they were then, and they were as dumb then as they are now. It's just absolutely incredible. But take it easy. It's all right. People used to tell them, say, Oscar, are you afraid of being hurt by your clients? I said, no, I always had the FBI following me. So I had no problem. And the FBI was all over him, and but they were coming up with nothing at the time. But the gaming people felt that he should be brought forward because he was exerting this influence, this supervisory influence at the time that he was working at the Stardust. And we were going back and forth, and we had some very interesting personalities on the Gaming Commission as well as on the Gaming Control Board. And Rosenthal was a fellow who liked to talk. He always referred to himself, by the way, in the third person. I don't know whether anybody does that here, but when talking, he would refer to himself as Frank Rosenthal. Instead of me or I, it was Frank Rosenthal did this, Frank Rosenthal did that, sort of like Johnny. That's what Jocelyn does, too. He does the same thing up here. People can't understand it, but I said you come from the same ilk that Rosenthal comes from, and that's the way it was. So they called him in front of the if you don't know, it's the board that does the investigation of somebody who is being considered for any kind of action on the part of the gaming authorities, and the commission is like an appellate authority. They're like the judges that take the board's presentation and make the judgment as to whether or not the person is going to be punished, not punished, licensed or not licensed, and that's the way it was, and that's the way it was in those days. And they went after Rosenthal, and as I said, if they said that he should have to get licensed, I would go to court, and the court would say, it's wrong. And then they, being the gaming people, they would take it up to the Supreme Court, and the court would say Goodman's wrong, and they would impose it again, and Rosenthal would go into different capacities. He went into food and beverage. He became the head of food and beverage. He knew how to make muffins, and he told the people at the Stardust who made the muffins, the bakers, that he had to have 8 blueberries in his muffin. And if you had 9 blueberries or 7 blueberries, you would be fired if you were the one responsible for that horrible mistake. And that's a true story. And he was very, very careful about that. And then after they said, you're doing more than just being concerned about muffins, you better get out of the hotel. And then he went into a position of entertainment director. And this was fascinating because he became the entertainment director at the Stardust, and he hired Siegfried and Roy away from another hotel, brought them over there with the Lido show, and became the most popular show on the Strip. And from that, he started what I consider to be one of the great moments in the history of Las Vegas. He started the Frank Rosenthal show. Anybody ever see the Frank Rosenthal show? You saw the Frank Rosenthal? Derek, you see it? Wasn't that the worst show you've ever seen in your life? It was the most horrible show in the history of the world. It was on Saturday night, and he had these dancing girls sitting there with him, and he would talk about games and gambling. And it was Mr. Frank Rosenthal Show. This is the Mr. Frank Rosenthal Show. And everybody, except those who were eating at Oscars, even though Oscars wasn't here at that time, anybody who was eating at any restaurant would drop with their forks, run home to watch the Frank Rosenthal Show, because on Monday morning, that's all the town talked about.
Now, Oscar did something at this dinner he seldom does. He did invite someone else to speak. In this case, it was his chief adversary back in those days, former Gaming Control Board member Jeff Silver. And Silver painted a very different picture of Mr. Rosenthal.
Oscar made Mr. Frank Rosenthal sound like a pretty nice guy, right? Fires the porter for not picking up the cigarette, and firing the cook for not having enough blueberries, and calling himself by his own name. He sounded like a real, genuine guy. So he wasn't really the kind of personable individual that Oscar knew in the office that was saying, Mr. Goodman, thank you so much, sir, for handling this case for me. So I was a newly appointed board member. I was like 29 years old. And this FBI agent comes into the office, ex-FBI agent. He comes in the office and he says, I need some information on something that I'm investigating. And I said, well, I'll help you out if I can, but, a lot of the stuff is confidential. But after that was over, he said, is there anything I can help you with? And I said, well, the only investigation that has any kind of discussion about it, buzz about it, is this Frank Rosenthal application. And he looked at me, he says, you mean Lefty? And I said, I didn't know that was his nickname. He says, well, look, I was the officer in charge of the McClellan hearings. This is 1960 now. And Frank Rosenthal was accused of bribing college athletes. Sounds like somebody that we really need in our gaming industry. He was accused of bribing athletes, and he pled nolo contendere in North Carolina to this kind of offense. So he says, I've got these transcripts in my garage. Do you want them? And I said, sure. So they didn't have FedEx then. It was like 2 weeks later, this box arrives from UPS, and there's these bound transcripts. And in it is all this stuff where Mr. Rosenthal is taking the Fifth Amendment like about 40 times in front of this McClellan Commission. And I said, geez, this is dynamite stuff. Why isn't this in our investigative report? And the chief of investigations, who I asked the question of, he says, well, you're going to have to talk to the chairman about that. I have nothing to do with that. So I called the chairman and I said, why isn't this in there? And he says, well, how bad is it? I said, it's really bad. And he says, well, you're going to have to go with it. Tell the guys to put it in the investigative summary, and then we'll go with it at the hearing. And so that's what happened. I mean, when Rosenthal came up in front of the board, it was like the chairman says to me, do you have any questions of this man? I said, well, I guess I have a few. And that went on for like a day and a half of questions. And the end result is that the other two board members agreed that Rosenthal wasn't fit. And the chairman of the commission, 2 weeks later, also agreed that he said, you want a big job in Las Vegas, Mr. Rosenthal. And in the old days, everybody had some illegal gambling roots, or almost everybody. And as a result of that, we tolerated it. But now you've got the federal government breathing down your neck, and you want to clean up the industry, and it's a privileged industry. So we're not going to license you. And Rosenthal went on to appeal that decision and appeal the other two decisions that were made, one when he was a food and beverage director and another when he was an entertainment director. And one of the reasons why is that he just couldn't leave it alone. My wife's in real estate, and she took me over to see his house. And his house on the country club had this big, huge electronics room. He was running the hotel and the book in particular from his home with hardwired technology at that time. Must have cost a fortune. They wired it all the way to his house over at Las Vegas Country Club. So one time he went to the book because some customer had a dispute, and the gaming agents had arrived because the customer had called gaming, and answering the question regarding the dispute was Mr. Rosenthal, the food and beverage director. So that gave everybody the idea that maybe he actually wasn't counting muffins, he was actually doing something else. So here we have 3 hearings. The last one was the one that was in the movie Casino, which is the one that he accused Harry Reid of conducting a kangaroo court. But every time these cases went to higher courts, they even hired Dean Griswold from the Harvard Law School, who was the Solicitor General of the United States, and he couldn't convince the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals to reverse the decision on the licensing, and cert was denied. So there were a lot of people that were looking at things, but one thing that Rosenthal did do is he was the quality control inspector for every gaming law that ever was passed in the state of Nevada, because he tested every single one of them.
Since leaving the Gaming Control Board, Jeff Silver's been one of the city's top gaming law attorneys. His knowledge of this town is such that Oscar himself recruited Jeff to be involved in the planning of the building of the Mob Museum.
Thanks, Rich. Oh my gosh, so interesting. These dinner series, you just learn so much history, and Oscar has the best stories.
And he will be back November 17th. Get your tickets now. Right, Gary?
I'm ready to go.
Does anyone know about that?
Everybody knows about
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It's live.
It will sell out.
Get your tickets while they're still available.
Is it also, are we allowed to tease, like it's also Oscar's 10-year anniversary?
Of course.
The restaurant, yeah.
The restaurant.
Can't believe the restaurant's turning 10. I cannot believe it.
Really?
It's crazy.
Tickets go on sale today is Monday, so on the 14th, this Thursday, tickets go on sale on our website for the Oscars Dinner Series.
Right.
So, Jonathan.
Yes.
Last week, you went to G2E. Did you go,
by the way, we are also, speaking of dinner series, one of our biggest regulars is Billy Gibbons from ZZ Top, and he's performing at the Venetian, so check him out.
Wow.
We're gonna go Wednesday night to see him. Very excited for that.
Nice.
Sorry. Go ahead.
You were at G2E last week, the Global Gaming Expo.
Mm-hmm.
How was it?
Pretty cool.
What is it?
Well, it's just a get-together of people in the industry. A lot of people from all sorts of different walks of the industry. It's the biggest vendors of the biggest showcase of the slot vendors. But everyone's there from new technology, software, chairs, slot chairs, everything you can imagine is being on display. Historically, it's a huge get together, and frankly, this year was pretty big. I was surprised how many people were there. I think a lot of the gaming execs didn't know what to expect. One of our guests coming up will be David Lopez from AGS. Give people some insight into slot machines and how they work.
Well, let's recreate the moment, because I followed you around and I recorded you getting a pitch from the sales manager at Scientific Games, and frankly, it was so technical and so visual, I didn't think they would really work here. So let me just ask you a couple of things about all that.
But you said pitch. I don't think of it as a pitch. I think I'm just showcasing what's coming, what's happening, trends. Unfortunately for me, and this is, I hate to say this in a negative way, but it just seems like everyone's doing the same thing, and the same concepts are out there. It's the same gameplay. Obviously, it works, so they're just recreating it. But cabinets are looking more and more the same, and gameplay is looking more and more the same.
It occurred to me that you're looking at two things when you were there: hardware and software. The hardware being those beautiful cabinets and the displays and the controls, and the software being the games themselves, because you can buy a game and put it into the box you already have, right?
For the most part, depends. Not all themes are available on all cabinets. And if you, as you saw, a lot of what they're showing us isn't even available for purchase. It's on fee base only. But yeah, it's different cabinets and then different themes. So you've identified that correct.
The other thing I wanted to get in the weeds on a little bit, because I think people like this. If you're putting your money into slots, you want to know a little more about what's happening. Progressives. How many kinds are there? Is it just within the state of Nevada that the progressives are here, or are there some interstate things down there on the casino floor?
Well, there's also
and in-house
progressives that are just on your own games. A lot of games are progressives that are just hitting more frequently. And then there's interstate progressives, such as Wheel of Fortune and Megabucks. Those are the biggest ones that people would be familiar with. But if you go down on the floor, you'll see some of the most popular themes are all progressives, like Buffalo Grand.
Yeah.
Those are the big ones.
One last thing. I remember back in 2014, it was a really big deal over at MGM Grand when the lion's share progressive hit. That
was in-house, though. That was just
it was in-house. It was only about $2.1 million, which, as these progressives go, is on the lower side. But that particular machine had been on the floor since they opened that iteration of MGM in 1993.
You said
2.1, I think it was.
That's not small on any. That's bigger than everything except for maybe Megabucks.
Oh, okay.
You're not hitting that on the Buffaloes, Wheel of Fortunes. Those are high 100,000s, low millions.
Any ticking time bombs downstairs right now?
Well, for us, we had one.
We had the Keno game, right?
We had the Keno game that started at the Westin, which is on Fremont and 9th. And when we shut down the Westin, we had to move it. I don't know if we've talked about this before, but we had to move it from the Westin because gaming said you can't just take it off.
Yeah.
Because it's a progressive, it's technically owed to the people. So you can either do a promotion to give it away, or you can move it to an active floor, which we did to the Las Vegas Club, where it resided for about a decade. And then when we shut down the Las Vegas Club, it was now a couple of 100,000, and they said you got to move it to somewhere else, or you got to give it away. So I said, let's just move it to the Plaza. So we had on the floor at the Plaza for about 5 years, and it just hit last year in September. It was a Keno game, like you correctly point out, Gary, and it was around $200,000 progressive, which was our liability. But congratulations to the winner.
Oh, Vegas is just growing and growing. And we have so much more to cover about what's going on downtown and what's going on at the Plaza and what's even going on the Strip.
Welcome back, everyone.
Thank you so much for listening. Thank you to everyone who reached out asking what is going on with the podcast.
We're here.
We appreciate it.
Why don't we do something for our first listeners when we go live?
We got to give them a code word.
Give them a code word.
Yeah.
When they email you or DM you, you'll give them a nice Plaza welcome gift, some jackets, some T-shirts, some golf balls.
And they will have until October 28th, 2021 to email us. After that, the promotion is closed.
All you write
can come
in the
later.
DM or the email is Yo11.
Yo11? Where did that come from?
It's a crap seminar.
Okay.
See, this is the great example of what I was talking about. That would be a 20-week memo situation. We just made it up here during the podcast.
Yeah.
Yo11 to Lisa,
at Plaza Pod on Twitter and Instagram, or at Plaza Podcast on Facebook.
Yo-11.
Yo-11, spelled out the word 11.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
And you can email Lisa at
podcast@plazahotelcasino.com. See you there. We'll be back again soon, but in the meantime, please rate, review, and subscribe. Tell your friends about On the Corner of Main Street, and of course, follow us on social. On Twitter and Instagram, it's at Plaza Pod, and on Facebook, find us at Plaza Podcast. Or go right to the top and tweet Jonathan at Jonathan Jostle. We'll see you next time from right here on the corner of Main Street.